Archbishop Ben Kwashi, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
Archbishop, if you could please introduce yourself briefly.
My name is Benjamin Kwashi. I am the Bishop of Jos, and I'm the General Secretary of Global Anglican Future Conference, GAFCON.
So how serious is the West capitulation on sexual immorality in terms of the relations in Nigeria with Muslims?
You must understand that Islam, in more recent years, are looking for any excuse to persecute Christians. So even with the growth of militant Islam, on its own is enough a reason to drive away Christians. So in the last 20 years, in Jos, for example, you can take an excuse of a young girl just walking across where Muslims are praying. And on that day alone, over 30 Christians were massacred. And of course, it goes on and on and on. So when you add to that kind of excuses a call for existence of LGBTQ, the LGBTQ plus only adds one more to the reasons, because it's not been advocated by Islam, it's been advocated by those perceived to be Christians. So it adds more to the many reasons why Christians need to be persecuted. And you can check that whether it's in Egypt or in Pakistan or anywhere else where Christians are either a minority or even a majority.
Yeah, those are some very interesting points there. Thank you very much. And it's heartbreaking to hear the effects that this is having on nations such as Nigeria.
Now, you must understand that this is a moral issue, and it is also a theological issue. So what the Christian church had preached since Pentecost has been that God created man and God created woman. But secondly, that God created man to have children for procreation. So when now, not God said, but man says that God is wrong, that is blasphemous. So that creates a problem of its own. But more than that, the fact that man would choose the path of rebellion against the word of God is sin. So those who want to persecute those who practice this are not viewing it as though they were doing anything wrong. They believe they're helping God to wipe out sin. Now, when you attribute that to Christians, you're only giving more ammunition to those who are looking for an excuse to persecute Christians. For example, when the bill came out in the House of Assembly in Nigeria, the House of Representatives, the Christians were busy debating. So when it was time for the Muslims to speak, all that the Islamic senator said was, the case is simple. Homosexuality, we killed them. Simple. So you see, there is a clash of cultures. There is also a religious obligation to wipe away iniquity, sin. Now, what people who are proposing this Western lifestyle, I hate to say it's a Western lifestyle, but it's something that's been accepted in the West, which is now projecting the West as though the Western civilization is capitulating. What that is doing to the West, it is preparing grounds for moral decay, and that introduces anything that will destroy society.
Yes, exactly, and it looks like the West is forcing a cultural assimilation on an area which is, so different, as you have said, and this can never work in a finger click, and it cannot work.
It will work because, you see, one of the things that I have said is, I don't mind that this is a choice of any nation, of any people, but please, can you not force it on other people? Just as we're not forcing Africans, we Africans are not forcing any of our cultures on anybody.
Yes.
Please don't force this alien, unacceptable culture on us, because in Africa, in Nigeria, having children is a blessing. It's a huge blessing. I'm not that old, but when we were younger, my wife and I thought we would have 10 children. That's what we wanted to have. Well, we didn't have 10 children, we had 6. I mean, medically, nothing wrong with my wife, nothing wrong with me, but just we couldn't have children. So we ended up with 6. Having children is a gift of God. And we don't see any other way in which you can have children other than being a man and a woman. So when you're introducing something that you claim to be cultural in another context, we're not going to fight you for it, but please don't impose it on other people.
Of course. And so what advice would you give to churches which have not yet given in to these pressures?
The first one is that the church in the West is going to suffer a lot of pressures if they reject this, because in a few nations around the world in the West, it's become now a legal affair. It's become a rights affair. And they are totally different issues. The matters of human sexuality and procreation of children can never be a rights issue. Just as some people choose to say we will control birth, some of us will not control birth. We want children, we want population, we want human beings, we love human beings.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to do with them, don't worry. I mean, you can have 1 child in 1 room, 1 child in 1 car, we can have 10 children in 1 room, and they'll be happy. Happiness is not determined by what you have. Happiness is determined by family. It's relational. It's the joy that we share. When I was growing up, my father had to bring me up back to the village where we all 5 people in 1 dish, 5 people in the other dish, and we didn't die. We enjoyed it. We shared. Till date, those we ate on the same meal today, we look out for each other. The sharing, the community, we look out for each other. Now, if your culture doesn't say that that is the way you live, fine for you, but please don't put it on us. We're not going to put the same thing on you. If I go to England, I find it strange that somebody will live in a house alone. It's strange for me. I mean, you have a house, family, bring 10 people, 20 people. That's what it is for us. And then you eat, and it's not even the style of what you eat. You cut pieces of meat, everybody shares a little bit. So it's all a matter of where we all are coming from, and that we accept we are creation of God. We honor each other. But I do feel it in my heart that where governments have now legitimized this, they're going to persecute the church. And I want to urge Christians to stand up. It may cost their lives, but so be it. But don't capitulate to a culture that is alien, to God, and is totally alien to God's ethics and morality.
It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, sir.
It's my joy.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. God bless.
Archbishop Benjamin.
Thank you.